Fox News alert: the NTSB releasing its preliminary report on the deadly dive boat fire. The ship went up in flames on Labor Day. You'll remember it killed 34 people. William Junesse has the details from California. William, we just got information that we'll want to share with our viewers.
Yeah, it came out about 5 minutes ago, Dana, and basically the headline here is that all 5 crew members were asleep behind the wheelhouse, which means one was not awake on anchor watch or night watch in case the boat drifted, so it didn't fall into, or, go ashore or rocks or another boat. They were supposed to be awake and they weren't, and then by the time they woke up, the fire was fully engulfed. Let me take some headlines from this report. Number one, there was no prior electrical or mechanical issues, according to the NTSB, which interviewed 3 of the crew members. Basically, a noise around 3 in the morning. He gets up, sees the fire, awakes the other 4 guys. The fire by now is coming out of the galley below, the second deck, if you will. They tried to get down by a ladder and they couldn't because it was on fire. And I'm quoting that the main deck, which is where the galley and the kitchen area is, just above the bunkhouse where all the passengers are, it was, quote, fully engulfed with fire, with smoke coming out of the forward window. We were unable to open that window and were overwhelmed by smoke and jumped overboard. They got in a skiff. They went around back. They tried to get in again and couldn't. They opened the engine compartment. There was no fire there. Now, they plan, the NTSB, this is only a 2-page report, plans to examine regulations on old boats like this, as we've talked about the power source and that it could have been overheated or overwhelmed. Number 2, they're going to look into smoke alarms, and because in this particular case, these were really old. You can get them at Home Depot for $5. They were not centrally wired into the wheelhouse. And finally, evacuation procedures. Some of these points were articulated in terms of the exit and it not being properly being adequate, if you will, were articulated last week by the NTSB board member who toured a sister boat and interviewed the crew.
It's not just about can you see your way out, it's can you get up the ladder, over the bunk, find the emergency escape hatch and get up it. And it's difficult to maneuver.
So the plan today is to take a barge out there, a derrick barge, lift the existing boat off the ocean floor, and then bring it here in Port Hueneme, where I'm at, which is the largest port between San Francisco and L.A. There, ATF fire investigators will examine it as to the materials, their combustibility. Was there some kind of a flashover, if you will, where basically the fire explodes on the second floor as those overheated gases literally ignite? The ATF, we spoke to one of their board members a short time ago.
That's where the science comes into play. They can't just say, just based on my experience, this is how it happened. They'll use electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, the lifelong experience of the fire investigators to actually come up with the cause of the fire.
So obviously there are legal implications to this, Dana, the fact that there was no one on there, and Coast Guard requirements or code is that required to be there, both from a civil and potential criminal point of view. Finally, I will say that the Coast Guard yesterday issued a directive to all commercial operators around the country to look at their power strips and to see if they're potentially overloaded, because again, this boat was built in 1981. Old boats are simply not equipped for all the cell phones and computers that we have today. Back to you.
All right, William Junesse, thank you.